welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton, and today we are going to explore some of the history of this region, particularly the seafaring history. My guest is John Collamore from the Colonial Seaport Foundation. Welcome, John.
Good morning, Robin. Thank you for having me.
First of all, because I like show and tell, you've brought a lovely prop here today. Let's talk about that.
This is
gorgeous.
Thank you. One of our crew members made this. This is a model of an 18th century Bermuda Sloop, which essentially would have been an 18-wheeler of the day here on the Chesapeake Bay.
Transport.
Absolutely, transportation. Most of the interior of this ship is actually set up as a cargo hold, shipping goods up and down the Chesapeake Bay. Essentially, if you lived in the Hampton Roads area, and in Hampton, in the late 1700s, early 1800s, you would know what this ship was. These were a dime a dozen. They were essentially the 18-wheelers of the day traveling up and down the bay. So
probably shipped out. Was it just a local up and down the bay, or was it taking tobacco to England and bringing in goods?
It depended on the size of the ship. The smaller ships did mostly coastal work, such as coming down from Baltimore or coming up from Charleston. The larger ones would leave either Charleston Harbor or Hampton and head out to England. They'd head down to the Caribbean, transporting goods, export as well as import into the colonies.
We forget what a seaport Hampton once was. I mean, I think of it now, you know, the Hampton River is kind of small, it's recreational, but we were a colonial town. I mean, you know, city. It was busy on the waterfront.
Oh, absolutely. The Hampton's entire growth came from the maritime industry, whether you were bringing goods in or shipping them out of the colonies, coming from the mountains, bringing pelts, from the farmland, bringing tobacco or crops. These goods had to leave the colonies. Ship models such as this one were how these goods left the colonies. Then goods that came into the colonies that we couldn't produce here, such as iron, brought the goods in. Everything was controlled by the sea.
So your foundation is really educational and looking at keeping that history alive.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
And very alive, because that is not just a model.
It's not just a model. This is a model. This is also the blueprint for Luna, which is going to be the flagship of the Colonial Seaport Foundation. Luna is going to be an 18th century floating classroom. So if we take the history that we've just talked about, and now we introduce STEM programming, education purposes for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, all this ship is a great big learning platform for students and residents around the Hampton Roads area in the Chesapeake Bay.
And it's funner learning. You know, you sit there and look at stuff in books, and it's got this distance to it. But when you walk on a ship and you look at it in real life and touch it and go through, you know, some of the things you guys do, it brings it to life.
You're absolutely correct. I'm a hands-on learner. A lot of folks have that same issue. I can read it in the book and not understand it, but if you give me a working model of it, I've got it figured out.
That especially, and you know, I hate to be stereotypical, but it especially works for boys. A lot of times boys aren't suited to sitting in a classroom and reading things and learning it. They're more experiential. And today almost all kids are, because of video games and, you know, the way things have changed. Yeah. It's hard to sit and process.
We've actually had just as much success with the girls as we have with the boys with this. We've discovered that while the boys may grasp elements, the girls are usually the first ones to go hands-on with a piece of equipment and figure out actually how it works. So we have great success with both groups in this learning process.
So how is the foundation reaching out to kids? How do you interact?
We do this a couple of different ways. One is through school programming. We're in a couple of different school systems in the Hampton area in the Chesapeake Bay region, where we take our standards of learning program and we take that into the classrooms. We also do youth outreach programs such as civic groups. We have a great Sea Scout group that we work with. That it's very integral in the part of Luna's development. Luna will actually be part of their sailing curriculum.
Oh, cool.
So Luna, whenever the scouting programs need her, will actually become a a scout vessel for their
Cool.
purposes.
So part of at Bayport or at some of the other.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, that's
yes.
wonderful.
Yep.
So why, okay, since you're the one who's here, what captures your fancy and interest about this time period and this history?
The period that the Colonial Seaport Foundation represents covers the area from the landing of Jamestown, the founding of the nation, to the seeds of revolution at Williamsburg. We've got this.
Now, we're going to say the first landing was right here in Hampton
Yes.
on Strawberry Banks. So you
Okay.
got to start there.
Okay. First
then you
landing.
can get to Jamestown.
The first landing
Gotcha.
at Strawberry Banks. From there, the founding of the nation at Jamestown through the first capital, its progress to the colonial seat of Williamsburg. During that time span, we've got roughly 150 years of maritime history that isn't represented. Jamestown does a great representation.
Yeah.
Williamsburg does a great portrayal of their history at the seeds of the Revolution. But there's this entire era in between where the maritime history that we were just talking about developed the nation.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, sail technology is changing. If we think about the first ships that brought sailors to the New World, the Godspeed, they were square sail.
Okay.
An example of this would be the sails coming
They were the.
across the ship rather than with the ship. By the time that the Revolution comes around, sails are going from the back of the ship to the front of the ship. They're going with the ship. Bermuda sloops represent both of these technologies and the development of change in the sail industry at the time. The ships became faster. They were able to handle into the wind a little bit differently. They were faster in the water, so there was this great technology that was going on at the time that was changing while the country was developing. And that's part of the story that we are representing is, one, the history, and two, the science of sail.
Now, we here in Hampton have a fondness for our pirates.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
We love our pirates, and it is, Blackbeard's Head. I mean, it is kind of central to our identity, and it's fun to a little bit romanticize pirates. We don't like to think of, all the details of the things they actually did. It's a different, Pirates of the Caribbean sort of thing.
Yes.
How does the Blackbeard group meld or not meld with the Colonial Seaport Foundation?
Well, first, we have to look at piracy as a whole in the entire maritime history. Piracy is just a very small part of that. In this region, it's a very significant part. You hit the nail on the head. Blackbeard's Head came to Hampton.
It sure did.
Lieutenant Maynard was sent by Lieutenant Governor Spotswood from Hampton to Ocracoke to go find Blackbeard. If we look back further than that...
And he did, which was kind of amazing,
He
actually.
did, it was. If we look back a little bit further than that, why was Lieutenant Maynard here in the first place? Well, Lieutenant Maynard was here with Captain Brand on board several ships of His Majesty's service that were here as pirate hunters to protect the Chesapeake Bay. So piracy played a very integral role in the safety of the area and why those troops were here in the first place. Mm-hmm. How that connects with the Hampton Blackbeard Festival goes back to 2000. In 2000, Sail America, Opsail came to Norfolk. Mm-hmm. From that, Hampton wanted a representation for their history. Well, the idea came up, why don't we create a pirate festival? At the time, there weren't that many around in the area. The festival was supposed to be a one-time event. Well, here we are 15 years later. Yeah. We're one of the largest historically correct pirate festivals in the nation. We're one of the largest attended. USA Today named us in the top 5 in pirate festivals in the nation. It's a great family event to attend. It's geared towards family and promoting the maritime history of the region at the same time.
So a lot of your folks are also Blackbeard folks, but there's just crossover interests, basically.
Yes, there is.
Same kind of ships, same kind of time period.
Yes, absolutely. The model that we have here is pretty close to the flagship that Blackbeard had at Ocracoke. Everyone knows about the Queen Anne, the big ship that is down in North Carolina that has just recently been recovered. Well, his last command was actually the Adventure, which was a Bermuda sloop, very similar to this. So this was his last command. Incidentally enough,
so we will see this as Blackbeard's ship during the festival.
Oh, absolutely.
But we will also see it as a colonial transport during other kinds of events.
Yes, it'll be floating classroom. People will be able to come on board when we're dockside and take a tour of the ship, get their hands onto the parts of the ship, learn how the sails are raised and lowered, learn how to navigate the ship, see some of the different tools that we use for navigating in the 17th and 18th century. So there's going to be a lot of hands-on opportunity for everyone to come on board and be a part of this program.
That sounds great. When?
Just as soon as we can get her in the water. We're pushing for this summer.
How long have you been working on this? I mean, looking at this small, you think, well, that's not that hard. They could build this, but full size, I bet it's been a long time coming.
Right now we're going into our 8th year. Luna is 50 feet on deck. She's going to be 76 total length. By the time that you get finished adding in the bowsprit and the back end of our boom, she's going to be 76 total feet in length, 50 on deck.
Wow.
So it's been a long project, but we're beginning to see the end results. Every day that we're on board, you can see progress in the construction and how the entire program is starting to come together as far as the construction goes.
How many people work on this? This is a huge undertaking, isn't it?
It's a huge project. Normally, we've got 2 to 3 people out there on a day that we're working, depending on what's going on. We might bring in some extra people to help with some specific projects, but it's not always the same 2 or 3 people. Normally, we've got a good working group of about 2 dozen that will come and go. You have to remember, we are volunteers.
That's what I was going to say. You have a day job, right?
We
or a
all
night
do
job,
have day
depending
jobs.
on...
We all do have day jobs. But everyone comes out and pitches in as best as they can. We might see somebody once a month, once every couple of months. Some folks are out there every weekend with us working. We even have some folks that'll call up and say, hey, I'm available during the week, and we'll see them for a little bit during the week as well as opportunity is there.
Wow. That's a huge commitment
It is.
that we're all going to benefit from. So thank
You're
you.
absolutely right. Yeah, it's a fun project. It's a great group that we work with. We're always looking for new folks to come out and volunteer. Not just in the shipbuilding, but in the living history and the education programming as well. So there's something for everybody there if there's interest.
You know, that's what has always interested me about the pirate group is they are, it's not Disney pirates. They are costumed, they are historically accurate, they tell stories. It is your living history.
Yes.
And that's what you're going to do here
Yes.
as well,
Yes.
whichever aspect of the history you're covering.
Absolutely, and the living
brings it
history
to
group
life.
that you're talking about is Blackbeard's crew based out of Hampton, right here in our own fair city. Blackbeard's crew is a very integral part of the Colonial Seaport Foundation. That's where we pull a lot of our resources when we do our living history programming, a lot of our education programming. And in return, the foundation is going to be able to provide a platform for not only Blackbeard's crew, but for other living history groups in the area and the city to have as a showpiece to represent the region.
Wonderful. Now, you are a nonprofit foundation.
Yes.
I'm going to let you give a little pitch here for the kind of contributions you might be looking for.
Absolutely. Monetary contributions are always great. We're also looking for manpower, financial contributions, corporate backers. If there's a company out there that has some goods or services that we need for the development of Luna, those are always welcome as well. We've got almost 1,200 square feet of sail that we need to put together. So if there's a sail shop out there that might be interested in helping out with that, we're also starting to look at our systems. We have our engine, but we need our fuel tanks. So we're looking for a machine shop that might be willing to donate their services to help put together a fuel system for us. In particular, one big piece of equipment that we need is a bow thruster. And what that is...
I bet that's something we don't use anymore, so you have to show us.
It's actually a modern piece of equipment that we're going to be hiding on board Luna. A bow thruster is essentially a little electric motor that's going to fit right in here
Gotcha.
on Luna. And what that's going to do is when we're coming into port, we'll be able to push the front of the ship either to the left or to the right to get us into dock safely. We have almost a 20-foot overhang over the front, and this is a pretty significant structural piece of the ship. We have to be very careful of this, make sure that nothing happens to it. If this breaks for some odd reason, we run the risk of the entire rig collapsing back on the boat. So
That would be bad news.
that would be very bad news. So to help with that, we're looking for a bow thruster, and that will be able to help us dock and come away from the dock safely. So that's a pretty significant piece that we're looking for.
The modern technology helps you hit today's docks and fit into today's world, but
Yes.
you have to hide it a little bit.
Yes. Modern technology hidden in plain sight.
That sounds great. Okay, well, is there anything you want to say before we close?
Again, thank you for having us, and if anyone is interested in joining us, either on the construction side of the project or the living history, the education side of the project, we would love to have you. You can reach us a couple of different ways. Information at colonialseaport.org. You can visit our website at www.colonialseaport.org. We have a great interactive Facebook site where you can actually follow along with the construction of Luna pretty much weekly. That's Colonial Seaport through Facebook, or you can give us a call directly at 804-381-8558.
That sounds great. Thank you. Can't wait to see that docked in downtown Hampton.
Oh, it's going to be wonderful having her there.
Wonderful. And thank you for watching. I hope as soon as this boat is finished, you will come out and visit it and keep up with what they're doing. Thanks for watching.